It's Raiders Live. We're here at Media Row, the Media Center. JT along with the great Eddie Paskal, and we're back again.
Feels
Another
good.
day knocking down days here, which has been fantastic, Eddie, and I'm excited we got a big lineup coming up.
Yeah, I mean, the energy's good in this place. We talked yesterday how it felt like there was kind of that palpable level up, and again, we've seen the same thing in here this morning, so it's good to do it.
I thought yesterday was one of the busiest Wednesdays I've ever seen in Radio Row. It's just going to pick up. We got a lot of former Raiders legends coming in today, a lot of analysis, and we're going to begin with the AFC West, which I got a lot to say on this because I believe the Raiders are in a really good spot going forward in the division. Let's start with the Chargers with naming Jim Harbaugh the head coach. That's a big move. One of the great coaches in college and in the NFL back in the day. He's back in our division.
Yeah, and you certainly look at his track record. He's a guy who wins, JT. It doesn't really seem to matter where he is, what the situation is. He's a guy who wins. And so now I think the challenge for him is going into a place in Los Angeles where it feels like, and we've talked about this a bunch, they have all the talent in the world, but they haven't been able to put it together. Is Harbaugh the guy that is ultimately going to be kind of the missing piece of that puzzle? I certainly don't hope so, but we'll see what happens come week one.
Yeah, out of respect to him, I think he is the guy. That's the guy that everybody wanted along the way. And Eddie, I think it's going to take a little bit of time because he comes in, the Raiders get Tom Telesco. There's some cap issues there in Los Angeles with the Chargers, Bosa, Khalil Mack, Derwin James, Keenan Allen. They have a lot of players there who have made a lot of money recently. Austin Eckler, who's been real good in this rivalry. Now I think Jim Harbaugh comes in there, and they got about a year of cleaning up that gap.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be really interesting to see what kind of year one looks like. I think year one for any head coach is really interesting, and you kind of see their fingerprints a little bit on the organization. And certain things will change, and I'm sure that'll be the case in Los Angeles as well. But to your point, that 2024 financially, what the roster looks like for that team down in Southern California, very, very interesting.
Well, they've always had a good roster, and what's interesting about the Chargers over the last couple of years with Justin Herbert, who I think is a great quarterback. They've been close, but they've never been healthy. Yeah. So there's always been one or two players who have been missing in the rivalry against the Raiders and in the AFC West. If they can keep that roster intact, build on it, I think they're just going to be a tough test for the Raiders for years to come with Harbaugh.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's, we talk about it every year and we kind of do it in jest, but it feels like every year the Chargers just Charger. They find a way to, ultimately, unfortunately for them, just not put it all together. But it's never been for a lack of talent, right? We look at that roster year after year after year, and you name some of the players like, how were they not better? How are they not more competitive? How are they not making a run, specifically with a franchise quarterback in Justin Herbert? So is Harbaugh going to be the guy year one that's able to unlock that magic a little bit? We're going to have to wait and find out.
What cracks me up about the Chargers is every year they're picked to win the division. They're predicted to win the AFC West and then go on deep into the playoffs, and they're not able to do it. What a disappointing run for them. But now Jim Harbaugh comes in, and look at that track record.
A lot of W's.
With the 49ers, very good. And then Michigan, he wins the national championship with the sanctions that were coming. You cover college football pretty closely. This is a guy who had to get out, and it's a great landing spot. And finally, I'll give the Spanos family credit. They normally don't make a move like this. They did it now. Credit to them.
Yeah, credit to them. I mean, certainly, and we're looking at the stats here, JT. I mean, this is a guy, and we said earlier, he has won everywhere that he has gone. He has been a quality football coach, whether it's in college, whether it's, in the NFL, the San Francisco 49ers. So no easy task for the Silver and Black in 2024, but, man, it is this division, no easy weeks.
Well, let's move on to the Broncos with Sean Payton. That's another team that had high expectations last year. They started off the year with Russell Wilson. They ended up getting out of that deal, and I think they're going to be in trouble here for a little bit because they don't have a quarterback. All due respect to Jarrett Stidham, he's not the answer long term. So they're in the quarterback market. They got Judy, but they don't have a lot of other options. I still respect their defense and their secondary, but I think Sean Payton's starting to realize there's a lot of work there for him to get back to win that division.
Yeah, and it doesn't, I don't want to say it feels like they're rebuilding, JT, because he talks about that defense. Yeah. That's a good defense. That's a defense that travels, that has been really good now for a few seasons in a row. But they, similar to the Raiders, kind of a question at the most important position in sports. And you and I are both fans of Russell Wilson. You and I both think he will land on his feet and be a quality NFL quarterback again. But for whatever reason, didn't work out in Denver. But again, we go into year two of the Sean Payton experience. It'll be very interesting to see what that roster looks like come the fall.
Look, I'm on record to say this is a massive mistake getting rid of Russell Wilson. He played really well down the stretch. He became a top 10 quarterback when you look at all the key statistics last year. But I think they made the move in the building that he wasn't a part of the culture of Sean Payton coming off Drew Brees in New Orleans, and Sean Payton just didn't want him around. So there might be a major step backwards until they lock in a quarterback. And I wouldn't be surprised if they got really aggressive coming up in this draft.
You know, and it's interesting too, you bring up the culture, and just shifting it back here to Las Vegas, we've heard from Antonio Pierce dozens of times now about the importance of a fit, right? And he said, like, look, I don't want guys that all, that all fit in the same kind of bucket. He goes, I want everyone to be themselves, to be authentic. And so I think that, yes, you have to find a guy in Denver and here, Kansas City, wherever it is, that fits what you want to do, and it's going to do it the way that you want it done. And you as the head coach, the CEO, see it looking kind of long-term.
I don't think we have to spend a lot of time with Kansas City. Right?
They're here.
We're here.
They're playing on Sunday.
They're here. They're playing here. But I thought the Raiders' win on Christmas Day really sent a shockwave and a statement to that organization. Andy Reid called it a wake-up call to get them ready for the Super Bowl. Nice compliment.
Yeah, really nice compliment. And there is, like you said, it felt like a jumping-off point for the silver and black. It really did feel like one of those, wins that you're going to talk about for more than a year. It's a great memory for this fan base. And candidly, this fan base has been waiting a long time to have that minute.
Yeah, well, the thing now is to beat them at home. Got to find a way to get them at home.
Who is it, JT? Who do we got? Who do we got?
The most mobile and greatest quarterbacks in Raider history.
45!
Look at this.
85! Hot!
The cadence is still there.
The voice and the cadence is still
Love
there.
it.
Hello, Rich Gannon. How are you?
Guys, how are you this morning?
Great.
Really good. Wow, the voice. What was that all about? Sounded like you were in Arrowhead.
You know, you kind of get the juices flowing. You get out here to Vegas, you know what I mean? You got the stadium, the facility. I'm not crazy about the teams that are here, but pretty good to be here. Though.
How you been handling that with the matchup with Kansas City, who you formerly played with, and the 49ers, dealing with that every question on Radio Row?
You know, it's painful to Raider fans. I mean, think about it. You've got the Chiefs in our division. We've got the team across the bay back in the day when we were in Oakland. So, but you know what, though? It is what it is. All you can do is take care of your own business. But I would say this. I mean, you look at these two teams, you got a great quarterback in Patrick Mahomes, and that's the guy that's not going anywhere. And this young quarterback in San Francisco has been really impressive, Brock Purdy. I got great respect for what he's done, for how he's handled his business. This whole thing about being a game manager, I don't know what that means. I do know this. The guy puts his team in a position to have a chance to win each week, and it's been really impressive.
You know, if you're going to be a game manager and go to the Super Bowl and go to back-to-back NFC Championship, I'll be a game manager any day of the week. I will take that. But, kind of shifting back to here in Las Vegas, Rich, and obviously Aiden O'Connell finishes the season, finishes strong for the silver and black. From your perspective, what kind of can he take out of that experience as getting so much run as a rookie? And certainly there were highs, there were lows, there were a lot of moments in between. But how valuable was that experience now for him?
I think it was really important for him. We all saw what he did in the preseason. I think he has a lot of the qualities and intangibles that you really like at that position. I think, he's tough. He's got good leadership skills. I think he throws the ball well from the pocket. He can make plays when he has to. But I think like anything else, I think so much of what happens at the quarterback position is impacted by what's going on around them. I mean, they fire the coach, fire the GM, fire the offense coordinator. That's traumatic on a young quarterback. Then you got a new play caller, somebody else in your ear. So I give Aiden O'Connell a lot of credit. He did some good things. I think he had a good chance to learn from his mistakes. As the team gets better around him, I say this all the time, so much of what happens at the quarterback position is impacted by what's going on around him. How good is the offensive line? How reliable is the running game? Where are we at with the tight end and wide receiver position? So I think he got some valuable reps his first year. I think that quarterback room is going to look really different in year two. And I think there's going to be more depth, there's going to be more talent and more competition. I think that's good for everybody, including Aiden O'Connell.
Rich, great points. He got a lot of reps in the franchise record, 63 points, even though the defense scored a lot in that game. The Raiders are in a good spot if they got to play him again. If they don't get a quarterback who's better, they break the glass, they put him in. I thought he did well, especially down the stretch, winning at Arrowhead and putting up the 63 against the Chargers.
Games in the division, we talk about Patrick Mahomes. His record in the division is 30-5. And I think that's really how we're measured. How good can we be in the division? Can we win division titles? And, I think wins over the Chargers, win over the Broncos, a win over the Chiefs, as you said, at Arrowhead. I think that was a stepping stone for a young quarterback. But look, I like him. I mean, you sit down and you visit with him. You guys have done that. I mean, he's an impressive young guy. I think he's humble. I think he's ready to do the work necessary to take that next step in his growth and development.
Rich, you had a great point about the quarterback room looking different in 2024, and I think the key word there is competition, right? Infusing some talent, whether it's another rookie, another young guy, or a veteran. When you look at the room, what would the value be of adding a veteran into that mix to push Aiden, to let Aiden lean on, or, you know, to collectively lead that group if that's ultimately where Tom Telesco decides to go?
It depends who the veteran is, right? And at the end of the day, my message to Aiden O'Connell is there are no guarantees in this business. You know, I mean, you want to earn that job, you've got to, you know, you've got to go out and play well, and you've got to do it in practice, and we got to see it every day, and we got to know that we can trust and rely on you. It's all about consistency and production at that position. You look at the free agents that are available, you know what I mean? What's it going to cost to get one of those guys? And when you really go through that list, there's only maybe 1 or 2 players that would really get my attention. You know what I mean? I think Kirk Cousins has done some good things in Minnesota. I don't know what's going to happen, if he's going to stay with the Vikings or not, but a lot of those quarterbacks are on that list for a reason, right? And you know, I don't know that I would be crazy about bringing one of them in. And even if you did bring one of them in, I don't think they would beat out an Aiden O'Connell, really, when you think about it. I mean, what does that say? I mean, I think Baker Mayfield's going to stay in Tampa. Ryan Tannehill wouldn't beat out Aiden. And you start going through that list, Jake Browning, Gardner Minshew, Jameis Winston, Mason Rudolph, Tyrod Taylor, and none of those guys would beat out, or would I want to play in front of Aiden O'Connell. So I think that tells you a little bit about what we saw from him the first year.
Luke Getsy, what do you think? Because I don't think he was the first choice. We think we knew what was happening there, but he seems to be 1A. He comes in, worked with Devontae in Green Bay, ran the Bears offense. Are you high on him? You think he can do this?
Yeah, you know what? Sometimes you know, you look back, 1A is better than 1.
Yeah. Right.
You know, and I think I know Luke's background, I know the way he was trained. He's been around some really good coaches. In fairness to Luke, and he won't say this, so I'll say it for him. You know, sometimes you're trying to coach up a Justin Fields. Justin Fields did not do a very good job anticipating, processing, you know, getting the ball out, playing from the pocket. That's not really his game. He's a guy that really relied on his feet, and it's hard to call plays for guys like that. I think that, you know, I think they did everything they could to adjust the system. When the young quarterback stepped in there last year, they actually played better in the passing game. So, look, I think Luke's going to do a good job. I think it's important for the staff to kind of get together and get on the same page. But look, let's be honest. If you look at the biggest issues the Raiders have had here in the last 5 or 6 years, it's the draft.
Yeah.
You got to do a better job identifying and developing those players in the draft.
You know, and one thing that Luke Getsy does bring to the table, Rich, is experience. And credit to Antonio Pierce, because he has surrounded himself with guys that have done it, that guys have, you know, done it at a high level for a long time. What does it say about Coach AP that he's been willing to, you know, bring these individuals in to listen, to be someone who's continually learning as he goes through his first full season as the head coach?
That's what's exciting about AP. I think that, you know, the way the team finished, I think he's been really transparent, really honest with the players about who they are, where they have to get better. I think players relate to that. He's a guy that played the game at the highest level, and I think he's another guy is not going to try and fool you. He's going to be honest and say he doesn't have all the answers. He's going to put together a good staff, let the players coach, not try to micromanage the situation. I'm excited. I think Mark made the right decision. I thought they went through a thorough process to try and get to this point, but I think when you look at what Antonio Pierce did after that all kind of blew up on him, I think keeping the team together, having this team get better, having the team finish the way they did, having them win games in the division against the Chargers and the Broncos and the Chiefs, I think speaks volumes about how the players feel about Antonio Pierce.
Rich, let's go to the receivers. Let's go start with Devontae, to Trey Tucker, even add in the tight ends. What do you think overall about the strength of this group overall? We'll start with the wide receivers.
Well, I mean, when you have one of the best receivers in football, it's a great place to start. I think that's a pretty good group. I think it's going to continue to look a little bit different. You know, when you look at free agency and you look at the draft, I don't think there's a position group on the team that can't get better or won't get better, nor has to get better. I mean, even the offensive line. I mean, there's no question. I love to see them keep the running back. You know what I mean? I mean, that guy, Josh Jacobs, he's a difference maker. He's a tone setter. I mean, I don't know the economics of that decision, but I just know that when he's on the field, when he's rolling, he's lathered up, he's a really good player. And I think when you try to develop a young quarterback to have a good running game is really important. I'm encouraged by Michael Mayer, the tight end. I think he's a good young player that's going to get better. I just think the offensive line has to continue to improve and develop. As I said, I'm going to be transparent about the quarterback position. I like Aiden O'Connell, but I think they have to continue to look at ways to develop that room and make it more competitive.
You know, and Michael Mayer, we saw glimpses of what Michael Mayer could be, and the glimpses are awesome, right? I think he's that classic old school type of tight end who can also be really effective in the passing game. We talked about Aiden, how a running game is really good for a young quarterback. What does having a dynamic tight end also do for a young Cyclo?
Well, just look at this game. I mean, we've got two of the best tight ends in the game. You got Travis Kelce on the one side, you got George Kittle on the other side, and I think they're different, but you look at their ability, their yards after catch, and you look at Michael Mayer. I mean, he's a big target. I think he's going to become a better route runner once he starts to understand, the types of coverages and how to find holes in the zone and the man-to-man coverage. And look, I think he's only going to get better. I think he's got a big upside, but I think when you have a great tight end, the ability to attack in the middle of the field, the ability to win on third down, the ability to be really good down in the red zone, just only makes you better. I'm selfish because I know how important that position is. I played with some really good ones over the years, including Tony Gonzalez. And I think the Chiefs have a special player. The 49ers have a special player. I think the Raiders have a young player that has a chance to be really, really good.
Rich, we spent a lot of time in the preseason, and Josh McDaniels is gone. I was just shocked that offense had nothing last year early. The coach got fired because of it. I thought that was going to be the strength of the team. It turned out to be the defense. Now you have Getsy coming in with AP. I'm sensing they're going to run the ball a lot. The culture is going to go back to running the football. With Devontae, do you like that theory?
Yeah, I mean, look, when you still have a great player, when you're able to run the ball, it opens up a lot of opportunities, some one-on-one. It forces the safety to come down. It forces you to play an extra defender down the box. It's going to give him more opportunities on the outside, on the perimeter. Look, when you have a player like Devontae Adams, I don't care whether you run first. It doesn't matter. He's still going to get his. He's still going to be a big part of the game plan. And, I would just sit, in terms of what happened with Josh, JT, I got to tell you, I have no idea. I really was surprised that they weren't more effective. Obviously, getting Garoppolo struggling early, Garoppolo getting hurt. That was the kind of the wild card. Can Jimmy Garoppolo play all 17 games when they made the decision? And it didn't turn out that way. And that really hurt them. And then you were forced to play with a young player. There were going to be growing pains at that position. But when I watched the offense in certain games, it was really disappointing. The Buffalo game, some of those games are just like, wow, what's going on here? And I don't have an answer for it. I really felt like Josh was going to be a good head coach for the Raiders. It just simply didn't turn out that way.
Yeah, but now we embark on a new era, right? We embark on a new exciting chapter for the Silver and Black, one that I think all of us are really excited about, and we'll have to wait and see how it looks in 2024. But Rich, before we get you out of here, we have done this with all of our guests this week, and I have a feeling you're going to do really well on this. So what we have here are the last 7 Super Bowl logos. What we would love from you, and we'll do it for time.
I'm terrible at this.
I know, but listen, all the guys have said they've been bad have been the ones that have done the best. You got to put the city, like the general region where the Super Bowl was. So we'll give you the gimme. That one, the top one's Las Vegas.
All right, I've been to these, so I should know. All right, this is Vegas.
All right, so here we go.
All right, Vegas.
And go.
Las Vegas. Last year we were in Phoenix, right?
Mm-hmm.
Phoenix.
2 for 2, right, Wyatt?
The year before we were in L.A. The year before that we were in L.A. The year before that we were in I'm just going to watch this. Ready? Miami, Dallas, New Orleans. These are guesses. I can't remember where we were before L.A.
Oh, don't cheat. He's got this.
I got them all wrong.
He's got no. I think
I did. Minneapolis.
That's the one that everyone has forgotten. That is the one that everyone has forgotten.
Atlanta, Miami, Tampa. I did really bad.
Nah, I think Rich did pretty all right.
Okay. I think
Rich did pretty all right. Yeah, that's not too shabby at all.
I used to have a photographic memory. You know what I mean? But I have to be dialed in. I need a little more prep time for that. But that's pretty weak.
Yeah. Rich, what do you got in the game?
Look, I'll just say 2 things. The 49ers run defense really bad. I mean, Aaron Jones rushed for over 100. Last week, the Detroit Lions had like 140 yards in the first half. You got some issues stopping the run. You got some edge players, Nick Bosa and Chase Young, that are missing in action when it comes to stopping the run. That's going to be a problem. And the other thing is, when you look at how poorly the 49ers started in the first half of both those games, if they don't play 4 quarters against the Chiefs, this thing could get out of hand. I think the Chiefs are going to win. I think it'll be a close game, but I just don't think the 49ers have put 4 quarters of football together in the postseason, and in order to win a Super Bowl, you need to do that.
Good seeing you, Rich.
You're the best,
Love
guys.
having
Thanks
you
for
around.
having me.
Rich Gannon. When we come back from Media Row, Steve Wyche will join us from NFL Network as we continue with Raiders Live.
intercepted down the sideline.
We told the state of Nevada
Touchdown.
that you're getting more than a football team.
The highest point total in Raiders franchise history.
You're getting an army.
You got to stay involved no matter what it is.
We have a commitment to this community.
And working in the community is the thing that we do the best.
One night, one cause, one nation. Be there as we put the helmets down and our hands out in support of Nevada. Introducing the inaugural Las Vegas Raiders Foundation Silver and Black Gala, featuring players, coaches, alumni, and entertainment. Join us in providing help and hope to those struggling with mental health issues. Secure your spot today.
Hey Raider Nation, my name is Jordy. I'm originally from Topeka, Kansas, and this is my rookie season with the Raiderettes. I wanted to be a Raiderette because I've always aspired to be on this team. Not only are these women amazing dancers, but they're amazing people, and they have such a positive impact on the community on and off the field, and I'm so grateful to be a part of that this year. To put on the silver and black is a huge honor. Like I've said, this team is full of not only amazing dancers, but amazing people who inspire the younger generations and those around us and each other throughout the season. So I'm so grateful to be a part of this sisterhood. The audition process was intense, but also really fun. I got to meet so many amazing dancers from all over the country who, we all have the same goal and we're all there for the same purpose. But what really was amazing to me was how supportive everyone was of each other. The girls, the vets, the new girls auditioning, the coaches, everyone was just really excited to be there and happy to audition. This season, I am looking forward to first stepping out on the field and feeling the energy from the crowd. I have been to a couple Raiders games, but I'm sure it'll be even more exciting being on the field with my sisters. See you on the field, Raider Nation. Just win, baby.
It is draft season, and with that, it's our pleasure now to welcome you to the Raiders NFL Draft Podcast.
This is a very exciting time. We get a chance to join the nation, Raider Nation, talk a little bit about the draft.
The Raiders very well positioned in terms of draft resources, draft capital.
This will be a fascinating watch as we get closer to the draft and kind of see how the Raiders put the pieces of the puzzle together.
We've got a lot to cover here over the next 8 weeks, and so excited to be here on this Raiders NFL Draft Podcast.
Raider Nation, stand up.
Back on Raiders Live from Media Row, Eddie Paskal and JT. Rich Gannon something. I mean, I love Rich Gannon. He's one of the great Raiders of all time and always fired up.
Great energy, right? I mean, we're doing this early. Like, things are starting to pick up here. Rich brought the heat. Brought the heat bright and early, baby.
He's fantastic. Eddie just caught up with Steve Wyche, one of the best reporters at NFL Network. He's got a lot of emotion. He knows the Raiders inside out. Here's their conversation.
And very excited back here on Radio Row with, I will say, one of my favorite people from NFL Network, the great Steve Wyche. Steve, it's so good to see you, man. And you and I were talking a second ago that, when you're the host team, you have these host duties, right? And everyone asks you where to go to restaurants and, hey, do I take this road or that road? But how has it been for you? We're getting later into the week. How has Vegas treated you thus far, my friend?
I mean, look, it's great. I love coming to Vegas. I love dealing with the Raiders. I was telling you, my father's like the biggest Raiders fan, going back to the Snake and Cliff Branch and Dave Casper. So it's good. But, I mean, like, you being the host city, I mean, that's like having a destination wedding where everyone's coming in and, like you said, asking you everything. So you have this burden, and you guys are upholding the duty well. Well done.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's the least we can do. But, I was thinking we've had an opportunity to talk to so many people just about Vegas this week. And I think one thing that's really stuck with me is there's been this constant theme of there's a bit of a surprise in a positive way about how Vegas, the perception of Vegas has changed in less than a decade.
Yeah.
Are you surprised from your position at the network how quickly it feels like Vegas, the league has opened its arms to Vegas, Vegas has opened their arms right back?
Absolutely, to some degree, when the whole anti-gambling standpoint. In terms of, The city, though, like, who puts on the big event better than Vegas, right? That's why so many conventions come here, so many big concerts and things like. It's been the history of this city, and the fact that it's shown they can have the Formula One races, that it can have the NBA All-Star Game, and now the Super Bowl, and it's going to be great when this is all said and done. Everyone's going to talk about how great of a job that the city did, that the state of Nevada did. I mean, I'm sure this will be part of the rotation, so to speak, when it comes back to having another Super Bowl.
Yeah, and we're hoping for that, and it's been really cool for us to kind of see the city of Las Vegas, the people of Southern Nevada, the people of the state of Nevada kind of get their moment in the sun and show off their civic pride. It's been a blast. But, you know, going back to this year, Steve, and you and I joke all the time, the silver and black, we are never boring, right? We stay in the news. We have much to talk about. Antonio Pierce gets the interim tag taken off, and really for us, it felt like there was the pre-November 1 version of the Raiders, and then the post-November 1 version of the Raiders. And when Antonio came in and he changed the vibe in that locker room, he got all these guys pulling in the same direction. From your perspective, what did he do that ultimately worked for the silver and black?
I think he let the players be the players. And this is like when you hear people talk about Andy Reid of the Kansas City Chiefs, his sustaining philosophy is, I'm going to treat you like a man until you make me not be able to do that. And I think that's what Antonio did. He's a former player. He understands how these guys feel, and he let them be themselves. And that, you could see it on the field, how much fun they were having. You saw the post-game stuff, the smoking the cigars, him screaming Raiders. Now the thing is going to be sustaining that. Okay, we've seen in any sport when an assistant coach takes over, the assistant coach is closer to the players. There's far more interaction between players and assistant coach than players and head coach. And now that CEO element has to come in where you're overseeing everything, where you have to make tough decisions, where you have to hurt feelings and speak to players sometimes in ways you didn't have to before. If he can keep that balance of delegating coaching, right? He's talked about Patrick Graham and Luke Getsy, and let them do their thing, but also coach his coaches, hold them accountable in ways where players see, okay, we're all on the same level. I think it's going to be continued success, you know, especially when you have a guy like Max Crosby say, it's got to be AP or I want out.
You know, and it's so interesting to you bring up Max and kind of his vocal support of AP, and Max certainly was not the only one, maybe the loudest, biggest, most important voice in that conversation. But, you know, what does it say about Mark Davis, you know, kind of hearing the heartbeat of that team, hearing the heartbeat of that locker room and saying, hey, if my guys, if 1 to 53 want this guy to be the guy, I kind of got to hold up my end of the bargain and make sure that he's in position to do that.
It says a lot, but there's always a trap door to that. Again, I've covered sports long enough to know that if players really like a guy, then it's you know, again, when that guy's got to make that tough decision, they can turn real quick. They can turn so fast on that guy. Like, hey, I thought we were good. Now you're benching me? Now you're putting this dude in over me? Or why is this guy doing that? And then all of a sudden, hey, that too close for comfort relationship all of a sudden becomes uncomfortable. So the fact that Mark Davis had a read on his team and said, okay, great, we're going to give AP this shot, because I think he does have that respect as a former player and a damn good one who was a middle linebacker, who was the captain of a great Giants team, you know, with Strahan, with OC, with guys like that. I think that speaks volumes rather than starting over and bringing in from somebody outside the culture to try to kickstart it once again.
And I think one thing that AP had going for him is over that last 4 or 5 weeks of the regular season, Steve, you know, he beat every team in the AFC West. Hard thing to do for anyone, especially an interim coach. But now going into 2024, we look at this division again. Jim Harbaugh's in town. Sean Payton, probably a new quarterback there. You know, Andy Reid, they're playing on Sunday. You know, what do the Raiders have to do to make sure that the end of the season is not the end of the story, but really the beginning of hopefully some sustained success for the Silver and Black?
That's a great question. I think the first and most important thing is to continue playing defense the way they played. That was an issue early on, right, as people were still getting used to Patrick Graham's scheme, and then the way they tightened it up. All season long, we were talking about, is that secondary going to be good? And look how they were playing at the end of the season. So if you can keep your defense intact, that's huge, seeing that you have 3 offensive coaches in the division. Right, get that defense going, because Kansas City is now a defensive team. They're in the Super Bowl because of their defense. So get that going, figure out what you're going to do at quarterback. I mean, that's the big thing. And once you do that, figure out what type of system you're going to run. But when AP said, I'm not stupid, I know who to get the ball to, Josh Jacobs and Devontae Adams. Now they got to get the Josh Jacobs situation taken care of. but him having the feel is hugely important. But again, now, instead of riding on emotion and riding on that Raiders, now you've got to do 17 weeks of tactical planning. You've got to pre-plan all of that tactical stuff and how you're going to manage the cadence of all of it, right? And that's where Antonio and his experience as a player and as a head coach is really going to be challenged. And hopefully he's got some coaches on his staff saying, hey, let's push the guys this way. You know, you feel me? We listen to you. Listen to us now, and let's continue to get this thing rolling.
You know, one guy that Antonio has listened to for very good reason is Max Crosby, and understanding that Max is the face of this franchise, is the heartbeat of this franchise, is the spiritual, physical, whatever leader of the guys in that locker room. And Max got a little bit of help this year, which was nice. That was a big thing internally. We got to find a guy who can run with Max. You look at Malcolm Kuhn's a breakout season.
How about that?
I know, specifically when AP comes into the big chair there. What does having Malcolm in the mix, playing at the level that he did, do for number 98 on the outside?
Well, I mean, look, every Batman needs a Robin.
Absolutely.
Right. Every great pass rusher has had somebody to steer someone his way. Think about Dwight Freeney and Robert Mathis. You know, you think about some of the great tandems. It is hard for somebody to do that solo. Like, look at Aaron Donald this year when so many people left. And it took a while for those younger people to support the Kingmaker. I call him the Kingmaker because he's made a lot of people a lot of money. And that's where Max is. So now he's got some people, he's got some princes to help the king. And the fact that they feed off of him and they understand what he does well and they uplift him, he's going to reciprocate tenfold. If you think he plays hard and is successful now with all the moves and everything he continues to learn, he's going to keep getting better the more talent that comes on this team and the more points the offense can possibly score. That's important.
A better version, a scarier version of Max Crosby is like unfathomable, and it's so crazy because every single year he gets better and better and better and adds more, more tools to the toolbox, so to speak. And seeing what he's going to do in 2024 with a little bit of help, a few more points on offense is going to be a lot of fun. But Steve, before we get out of here, we were talking about earlier, we have a little Super Bowl trivia game.
Go.
We are here in Las Vegas.
Let's do it.
I will preface this by saying your colleague Tom Pelissero is the leader in the clubhouse.
Don't tell me the time.
I won't tell you the time. I won't say the time. The game is simple. We have laid out the past 7 Super Bowl logos for you.
Oh my
Your
God.
job. You just got to tell me where these games were played.
All right.
So for some of them, like I will take general region. So you know what I mean? Like I'm not going to be.
Okay.
I don't need the exact
man,
zip code.
this is not great for me.
I'll give you the freebie. This one's Las Vegas.
Yeah.
All right. So we're gonna do this. We're gonna give you the board.
Okay.
We're gonna put a minute on the clock, and my friends in the control room help me out.
Oh my gosh.
Got the marker for you?
Okay. Oh, I have to write.
Yeah, you got to write.
Right.
You got to write.
Here we go.
And here we go. In 3, 2, go, Steve Wyche. All right. Oh, we're off to a strong start. Oh boy. Oh boy, we are off. We are off to an electric start.
Okay now. I'm not sure. No, wait.
Okay.
Are we Houston here?
Oh boy. We started incredibly hot.
We were killing it. See now.
We started incredibly hot.
Okay, so here we go. Okay, I think we're Houston here.
My man Wyatt's got the cheat sheet for me, so I can see at the end how Steve did.
And are we Phoenix? I know Phoenix doubled up in here.
Okay, and time. Let's see how Steve did.
I know. I started high.
Give him 1.
Oh, 2, Tampa, Miami.
3.
Come on, Steve.
Miami,
no.
We got Atlanta.
We got Atlanta. Oh, I forgot about Miami. That was a great
yeah.
Super Bowl, too.
So we go 4 for Steve. I told you, Pelissero went 7 for 7 in 40 seconds. Crazy.
That doesn't surprise me though. Like Tom is a machine.
Yeah,
Tom is that guy.
I will say we were all watching, like, oh my God, like he's not messing around.
He's
like,
that guy.
Like a 10-second pause, but he definitely knew what he was doing.
Well, Tom is also part-time travel agent.
That's
so he books all of our travel, so he knew that as well.
Oh, what a guy. Well, hey, man, it was so good to see you. Every single time we get to hang out with you is a fantastic time. Enjoy Vegas. Yeah. Enjoy all the festivities. And we'll see you during the offseason, right?
Yes, you will.
Give me something to look forward to.
1,000%. Can't wait to see AP.
Love it. My favorite guy from the network, Steve Wyche.
How about that?
My
Good
guy.
That's your guy.
It's my guy.
He's a good guy. You know, I've known him for a long time, 20 years. He gets better and better, and he's so involved with the Hall of Fame, and honors is tonight, which is a big deal.
Yeah.
Max Crosby up for Defensive Player of the Year. He pulled me aside and said he hopes Max got a chance, because I think he has more than a chance tonight. That's a big topic.
Yeah, I think so too. And certainly you can break down Max's candidacy however you want. And I think that when you do that, you see very clearly that he is now in that upper echelon of edge rushers. He's in that upper echelon, I will say it, of defensive players, period, in the NFL. So does he have a shot tonight? Heck yeah, I think he's got a shot. I think he's got a really good shot. Will he need a little bit of help? Maybe, but I'm hoping he brings it home.
Here's why he should win that award. It's a regular season award. It's not a postseason award. For those who say, well, the Raiders didn't make the playoffs, it has nothing to do with that. It's an individual award, and what makes him stand out is his snap count. So he played longer than everybody, he played more snaps than everybody there. That to me is a big deal. And then the other point, Eddie, is we found out how severe his injury was. The guy played hurt all year and didn't talk about it. I think that's why he should be the Defensive Player of the Year. The overall snap count and the fact that he played hurt. I mean, this was a big year for him, 14.5 sacks. But I thought the key was the pressures. Look at that number there, 100. Tied for first in tackles for loss. He's always behind the line of scrimmage.
You know, and I think with with Max's candidacy too, and you brought up that great point that it is an individual award, yes, but Max, I think the big level of growth that we saw from him this year, JT, is he brought guys with him. He said, look, I'm going to be at the quarterback, I'm going to do my thing, I'm going to be the heartbeat of this team, but you guys are coming now. Like, we're going to do this together. And I know it's hard to equate, I know it's hard to put a statistical kind of a number on, but Max was an incredible version of himself this year, the best version of himself that I think that we've seen, and I hope he comes home with some hardware this evening.
Malcolm Kuntz had a big year. I didn't see that coming. When he had an opportunity to play, he exploded the second half of the year, and I tie that to Antonio Pierce. Once Antonio Pierce took over as interim head coach before head coach, he got him to play and play at a next level. I loved him. He, to me, was a borderline Raider MVP if it wasn't Max, because he was shot out of a cannon at the end of the year.
You know, I think you brought it up perfectly, JT, where in the best possible, he was the best surprise, I think, of 2023.
Great player.
Because an incredible guy, and I think the moment that I come back to for Malcolm in 2023, yes, all the stuff on the field was incredible. The Robin to Max's Batman. But I was talking to him one day after one of his media things. I said, hey, you're getting better, man. Like, you're getting better at doing this, at the media portion of it. And he goes, yeah, and he was kind of going back and forth, but you could just see he's more comfortable. He's more comfortable on the field. He's more comfortable in his skin off the field. And I think that level of comfort, that level of knowing who he is, and we've talked about that a bunch with AP letting his guys be who they are. I think that's a big reason why we saw the 8 sacks for Malcolm this year.
Look at the last 9 games, what he was able to do. The rush grade was high. I talked about that with PFF. His defense overall, the way he stopped the run was important, because a young player, sometimes Eddie's only good at one of two things. They're good at the run, not against getting to the quarterback. He showed that he's an overall solid player with a lot of upside.
Yeah, and I think going into 2024, he's got to be one of those guys that you put a big circle on and say, this is a huge year for Malcolm Kuntz. Will he live up to those expectations? If we look at these final 9 games of the regular season, there's no reason to think that he won't. And I think that now going through a full offseason again, getting a chance to be under the tutelage of Max and saying, hey, like, this is how it's supposed to be. These guys on the defensive line, JT, have the best picture of what it's supposed to look like. Every day they go into that building, every day they're in the weight room and they see number 98 doing his thing, they can just look at him and say, that's what I need to be doing. That's the standard. That's the expectation here in Las Vegas.
Let's get into Tyree Wilson. Interesting player, because his upside and his skill set, he reminds me of a Kevin Durant when you see him up close with an extra 200 pounds. He's one of the greatest freak athletes I've ever seen with the Raiders. Problem is, he's got to stay healthy. He worked through an injury. They drafted him with the injury. They knew that. I thought they handled him well. The training staff, the medical team brought him along, and then at the end of the season, when they moved him inside, I thought he was natural there. He felt really good.
Yeah, I mean, huge credit to Patrick Graham for kind of realizing, hey, if we want to put this young guy, emphasis on young guy, JT, in a position to succeed today, let's move him inside. Let's give him a little less to think about. Let's put him in that box, like Patrick Graham was saying. But you bring up a great point, and I know it's not necessarily what the fans want to hear sometimes, but this is a guy that there was a plan for going into the season. He did not enter training camp healthy. He did not enter week 1 healthy. And I think the Tyree that we saw at the end of the year was, I don't even want to say the best version, but was the best version of 2023. And the fact that he got better week after week after week, and we heard it from Patrick Graham, we heard it from AP, we heard it from the guys in that locker room that says, give this guy a chance. Give him a little bit of time to get his feet under him, and now going into this season, or excuse me, off season, I should say, healthy, ready to rock. And we talk talk about Max, having that picture of what it's supposed to look like, the Max Crosby-Tyree relationship is going to be huge this offseason.
Well, he's a high draft pick. He has to deliver, and they have to be on the field at the same time. So with Malcolm Koonce, Mad Max, and Tyree Wilson on the field together, Koonce is not the type of player that needs to come off the field.
No.
And Tyree is not playing ahead of Koonce, in my opinion. So maybe you give one of them a spell. I don't think Max has to play every down going forward. So Tyree Wilson is going to have to earn it. And I think he's still too light to play defensive tackle and inside as much as he can. I just think they have to make him a hybrid. He's got to come in on certain downs and distances and make plays, get to the quarterback.
You know, I was just thinking, JT, we were like, I don't think Max should play every snap. And I agree with you 100%. Who's going to deliver that message? Who's going to deliver that message to the Condor and say, hey, man, we got to take you off the field? This is a guy, and it's the best part about Max. He will not come off the football field. Yeah. He won't do it. But you bring up a great point with Tyree and kind of the body and the freak athleticism that he brings to the table. I think now, going into 2024, it's up to Patrick Graham and that defensive staff and Antonio Pierce and say, let's play to his strengths now. Yeah. We know what he can do. When he is rocking, he is a dynamic athlete. Let's play to his strengths and make him better.
Let's take a look at some of the defensive tackles, defensive players up front that might be available for the Raiders. This is a big list because you got Max Crosby, and I think a lot of these guys want to play with him. Donnell Hunter off the edge is a superstar player, getting a little bit up there. Leonard Floyd, but Chris Jones. A lot of Raider fans are saying, get him now, just lock him down because, Eddie, the Raiders have struggled in the draft at defensive tackle. There's been a lot of young players who have come into the building and haven't panned out. I think the Raiders really have to find a way to bring in a D tackle and help out.
Yeah, I agree with you. Whether it's in the draft and free agency, you talk about the struggles that this team has had drafting that position in particular in the draft. It'll be very, very interesting. And I think credit to the big boys on the Raiders defensive line this year. I think that collective group, the interior linemen, Bilal Nichols, they really came on strong towards the end of the season. So yes, would you like to have some more depth there? Absolutely. If you have the ability to go get a Chris Jones, I'm with you. Go get him. Make this good defensive line that much better. And this is why you have Tom Telesco in the building now.
Look at Clowney at number 12. Clowney came in and had a big end of the year. Normally when an aging player enters free agency at that position, it doesn't end well. But there's a lot of them here, and I just thought the Raiders were going to hit better at the defensive tackle position in the draft. They have not. I think they got to clean that up in free agency.
Yeah, and again, we talk about Tom kind of earning that paycheck and Tom Telesco being here for a reason. I think that's going to be so crucial these first couple months of Tom's tenure. And I think when we get to the draft, and really when we get into late May, we're going to have a really good idea of what Tom Telesco and Antonio Pierce want in players, the characteristics that they covet. So certainly we're going to get a little peek of that as we approach free agency. But yeah, it's a big offseason for them, no doubt about it.
The Raiders defense was the story last year. Again, as we talked to Rich Gannon earlier, the offense struggled and the offense picked up at the end of the year, but the defense was the strength of the silver and black. When we come back on Raiders Live, we got a couple of guests lined up. People are starting to flow into Radio Row here at the Media Center. A couple of surprises hopefully coming up here in the next hour as we continue with our in-depth team coverage. Look at the staff back there. They're working hard. We're having a great time. Raiders Live from Media Row.
I walked into the Crosby home on a sunny Thursday morning with the intention of learning something new about the familiar Raiders defensive end. But to truly understand the Mad Max Crosby we all know and love, we have to go back to where it all began. Before the stadium lights, before the screaming fans, before the 9-8, a small town, Lapeer, Michigan.
I was moving from Michigan. I was really upset because all my boys, all my closest friends, we all lived on literally the same street in cul-de-sacs.
There was a lot of uncertainty because, our whole life we were in Michigan. So I think I was in 8th grade and Max was in 6th when my dad decided we were going to move because the market crashed at that time and my dad was in mortgage.
I think this is the most significant financial crisis in the post-war period.
There are fears the sell-off will continue on Wall Street. soaring gas prices, falling home prices, and rising unemployment.
Getting up and having to move kind of unexpected and go to Texas, it was tough. My parents were jammed in the corner in the little room. Like I said, me and my brother were in bunk beds, but it made us closer as a family. You know, we went through that adversity together, and you know, just were able to come together and you know, stay close knit.
There's no one that makes me laugh more than him. Like, even when we were small, Max was always just like a freaking comedian, man. He was just always making me laugh, and he was a funny kid. He was competitive, even though he was a jokester. If we were competing, he would swing at me, he would do whatever, but in the end, Max has always had the biggest heart. Like, he was always just genuinely a great person.
I'm the person who I am because my mom went through a lot and my dad went through a lot. They instilled, you know, no matter what adversity is going on, no matter how hard the job is, like, literally never quit. You know, I was just a young kid just trying to figure everything out, but sports was like number one no matter where I was, you know, on this planet.
Football is his life. Even when he was a kid, like, it's all I love is sports. He's like, all I love is football.
Well, I played linebacker literally from the moment I started playing football, so second grade, all the way up until my junior year of high school. My senior year was the first time I played D-end. I had a big growth spurt, and we had new coaches come in from Austin Westlake, and they were like, yeah, you're not going to play middle linebacker, you're too damn big. So if we're going to put you at D-end and tight end. So like for me, I was like, I'm going to just listen to these guys. I'm going to figure out the position, try to, you know, learn what I can do best. So I was just literally figuring it out every practice and every game. Like, it was just like, you know, just getting reps and, you know, more and more reps and figuring it out on the way.
Right!
This is such an iconic franchise with a storied history, and obviously it all starts with the legacy of Al Davis. So there was a connection and a fit, and I think that's really important in this league.
There's a lot of people that we affect by wins and losses. We understand that, and we don't take it lightly. Hey, like we talked about it, man. Blank sheet, new chapter, we writing our own script. But we believe. Think about what I said. I will, we will, I believe, we believe. God damn it, this is what the hell we do. Raider Nation. That bad boy good. That bad boy ready to rock.
When you talk about the Raider way or the Raider tenets of commitment to excellence, just win, baby, once a Raider, always a Raider. But when you walk in this building, I mean, you can feel it.
We're talking about doing it for one another, playing for one another, playing the game the right way. Biggest window? Front window. And guess what? Every door we go into, we're kicking that from now on. With all the doubters, all the stuff they've been talking about, don't matter. It's okay. We don't want to be liked, we want to be respected. We don't want to be liked, we want to be respected. And we've earned our respect.
Welcome back to Raiders Live from the Media Center. We're having a great time. I love those cigar parties.
Yeah, nothing
I love
better.
AP in the locker room here, no doubt about it. And fantastic to see him and how he's growing into this position, especially this week here at the Super Bowl. JT, Eddie, Paskal, thanks for joining us. I want to talk about some of the rookie contributors from last year. Let's start with Trey Tucker. What a year, what the ability to stretch the field. We saw glimpses of it. I'd like to see more of it next year.
Yeah, I think that's the key word, JT, is glimpses, right? We saw it on a handful of occasions. We saw what it could be. We saw what it should be. We saw the explosive nature of his game. I think now going into year two, and this is certainly not an indictment on Trey, all right? He's a rookie figuring it out in the NFL. Consistency, consistency, consistency. You and I talked about it during the season. There were just too many of those moments where it could have been a big moment, but whether it was ball security, whether it was footwork, whatever it was a big moment kind of negated. So I think going into 2024, consistency is the name of his game. And if he can be a consistent contributor to this offense, oh man, he's going to be in the NFL for a long time.
Well, that's what fascinates me about Luke Getsy. He's going to want to run the ball. We know that coming in, but he's got Trey Tucker, and Trey Tucker and him got to get on the same page no matter who the quarterback is, because the ability to bring a safety over the top and that double team there opens it up for Davante, and I think Davante loves that, having a Cliff Branch type speed guy on the other side so he can work underneath.
And we've heard from AP, JT, that, you know, he's harkened back to the days of Al Davis. He goes, what did Al Davis love more than anything? He goes, speed, stretching the field. He goes, that's what we want to be about. And so you look at the Raiders roster as it's constructed now, like, who's that guy? It's Trey Tucker. So are you going to utilize Trey Tucker? And we talked about it a little bit with Tyree, is if you're the coaching staff now, you say, hey, how do we put Trey in position to succeed? We know what he brings to the table. We know the raw athletic ability he has. How do we fine-tune that and make him an integral part of this offense to get Davante a little more team-friendly looks?
The thing that's interesting about him, Eddie, is if you don't go to him early in the game, then they kind of get past predictable. And what I said with Eric Allen on the pregame show last year on radio was, get him a deep ball touch early, even if it's incomplete. Look at the targets here. I think going into next year, this offseason, I'll throw it to you. I'm going to go Michael Mayer, maybe 70 to 80 targets, if not more. And then Trey, he's got to get up to about 60 or 70. These two young players going into their sophomore year have to have breakout years if the Raiders are going to make the postseason.
Yeah, and I think let's start with Mayer, right? I think having the Michael Mayer target number go up is only a good thing for this offense, regardless of who the quarterback is. We were talking about it earlier with Rich, where like a quality tight end, a elite tight end, a dynamic tight end just makes everything easier. It makes every single thing you want to do on the offensive side of the football easier. And we talked about glimpses with Trey Tucker. Well, we saw more than glimpses with Michael Mayer. We saw it a little more in a sustained type of way. But yeah, I would love for him to stay healthy, to become that guy for the Raiders offense.
I get very frustrated when they don't get the ball to Mayer. I do. I get really upset about it because they didn't do a good enough job getting him the football. And when they did, Eddie, you remember those scripted plays?
Yeah.
When they worked in 2 or 3 games, everyone looked around and said, why can't we do this coming out of the second half? Script it again to him. He's just too powerful and strong. And he was an improved blocker at the end of the year. I talked to PFF about that, Sam Munson. I said, tell me about him as a blocker. And he said, really accelerated at the end of the year and showed up on tape.
Yeah, and how far away it seems, JT, those reps that he had against Max Crosby at training camp. And credit to him as a young guy who got, right? And there's no shame in that game if the Condor is going to get you during training camp. But we talked about kind of the theme for the rookies was constant, consistent improvement. And Michael Mayer was certainly in that category, no doubt about it.
One of my favorite players on the Raiders is Jacoby.
Yep.
Because Jacoby Myers is another guy. Get him the ball behind the line of scrimmage, over the middle, up top, throw him a fade. He proved that he could make every catch. He's very important. He's a valuable piece to this organization.
100%. We were talking earlier about Malcolm Kuntz being a pleasant surprise on the defensive side of the football. I don't want to say Jacoby was a pleasant surprise, but I think I was, well, I guess I'll say it, pleasantly surprised just by the level of production. I think coming into last year, we knew that he was going to be a factor on this offense. I think to the level at which we saw him being that factor was really, really nice. And look, when he's cooking, it helps Davante go to work, do his thing. It opens things up for Michael Mayer for the run game. Jacoby Myers, I mean, we play this simple game all the time, JT. Is he a thumbs up or a thumbs down football player? He is a 2 thumbs up football player and asset to this offense.
He gets lost in the national media coverage. No one knows him. And going on other radio shows and telling us about what's going to happen in the upcoming game, I always say keep an eye on him because the double team of Davante is real. And if Davante's being double teamed, you can't double team Michael Mayer, Trey Tucker, and especially Jacoby. And we saw that. He had a couple of clutch catches last year, especially the second half of the year when Antonio Pierce was relying on him heavy.
You know, and Antonio's talked so much, and we were talking about earlier, JT, just like the culture fit, a guy who gets it, who understands what it is to be a Raider. Jacoby Myers, check. You know, an incredible personality, a guy who is so comfortable in his own skin, a guy who's been in the NFL for a minute, who's had great moments, who's had some not great moments. But he, to me, you look at him, you look at his skill set, you look at the way he carries himself. He is a Raider. And I think that when you're building out the team, we talked about Tom Telesco going 1-53, you have to have more guys like Jacoby on this team.
Eddie, you make a great point because as Tom Telesco takes over the Raiders, you do not need another Trey Tucker. No. You got that type of player that can stretch the field. Anyone else would be a bonus. You got the tight end. I don't want to hear about another tight end. You got the tight end here. Feed him. Davante's still in the prime of his career. I think this receiver room is set. I know they're going to bring in some depth here, but I'm talking about those 4 players, Trey, Jacoby, Davante, and Michael Mayer. That's as good of a group as you'll see. It reminds me of the 49ers. And look at Kittle. and you got Brandon Ayuk and Debo, and then you got McCaffrey. Raiders have Josh Jacobs. That's the type of offense that can get you to a Super Bowl.
Isn't it great that we can have that conversation, though, that we say we feel good about the wide receiver core going into 2024? And look, we see it every year, JT, where you need to have guys at the bottom of your roster contribute. Guys are going to get hurt. Unfortunately, it's the name of the game. So would I love to see them add some depth to the wide receiving room? Absolutely. Will they? Most likely. But it's going to be, I think, as we look at the roster, that is a position that you feel really good about going into the offseason.
Solomon Wilcots is going to join us coming up, former safety, great broadcaster. He'll have a lot to say about the Raiders secondary. I want to dive into that when we come back from the media center, and we'll dive into that as we continue. Are we going to jump in with him right now?
Yeah, let's go.
Great. We'll get him in here now. Solomon, good to have you. How are you?
Well, JT, hey, I'm back,
man.
Radio good to be with you, baby.
Great to see you. We're talking about the Raiders defense.
Yeah.
Led by Max Crosby, but we want to go from the back up to the front now. Trayvon Merrick and what you saw from Epps last year.
Look, you saw a defense that really was committed, man, and they began to make plays down the stretch. They picked it up. And, look, I love the fact that even on the back end in the secondary that was much maligned, they started making plays. And when you have cornerbacks, what's the kid that came from the Patriots?
Jack Jones.
I love Jack Jones, man.
How about the plays he made?
I love me some Jack Jones. I watched him in 2022. They were playing a game. He was with the Patriots. They're playing Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. And I'm watching him just read Aaron Rodgers' mail, and nobody picks off Aaron Rodgers like that. It was a pick six that he had.
Yeah, he had a pick six.
And man, I said, oh my goodness. So I started doing the homework on this guy and found out that he had played at Long Beach Poly, right? And that he had went to, he originally was at USC, and then he ended up having to go to junior college, goes to Arizona State. Patriots draft him. Of course, he was at Arizona State with guess who? Antonio Pierce.
Marvin Lewis.
And Marvin Lewis, that's right. So this guy is a stud. He's a playmaker, and I think he's a future all-pro player. That's how much I think of him. Yes.
You know, let's just stick with Jack Jones for a second,
Yep.
Solomon. You know, it clearly just didn't fit for him in New England for a variety of reasons. How valuable is it as a player to just find your home, find your people, and to find like, hey, this is where I'm valued, and schematically, I'm also going to be put in position to succeed?
I really think Jack was, I think he wanted out. I think he wanted back on the West Coast. I think he wanted to play for his coach. I think he wanted to be reunited with Antonio Pierce. In our league now, players have a way of saying, I would prefer to play here. And, you know, there's some coaches that are not going to just let a player go without a trade and making it more complicated. And so I think it didn't work. It was working, but then it didn't work because he just wanted a better situation for himself. And so now he's comfortable and he's happy. And he's playing for a coach that really, I think, has a great understanding of who he is and what kind of player he can be. And when he makes an interception when you're playing against a bunch formation and you weave your way through that bunch to pick off a pass with one hand, man,
crazy.
And walk into the end zone. Not only stylistically was it phenomenal, the football IQ that's required to make that play tells you what you're dealing with. This is a player with tremendous football IQ and tremendous talent.
As a former safety, Marcus Epps played in the Super Bowl for the Eagles.
Yeah.
Raiders got him. Very consistent player with Trayvon Merrick on the back end.
Yeah.
I think that's a cornerstone group that the Raiders can build around.
Yeah, Merrick and Epps, I think they'll make a great tandem.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. And I've always liked Trayvon Merrick. He's a guy that now I think has more experience to be more vocal, to be more of a leader on the back end of the defense. And then Epps is a guy that's played in a lot of big games, right?
Yes.
And been on the winning side of a lot of big games, bringing more experience. And so when you get that kind of tandem of guys who are great communicators, who have played a lot, who have seen a lot, and now you can see an elevation in that secondary. The Raiders have been struggling on the back end. I don't have to tell you guys that. If you can secure up your secondary, what we always say, if you make mistakes on the back end of your defense, the official is normally standing in the end zone, holding up both arms, signaling a touchdown. All the other guys up there can make a mistake. Right. A defensive end, they can make a mistake, lose contain on a play. A linebacker can make a mistake. You're not allowed to make mistakes in the secondary because they're just too costly.
You know, speaking of adding talent to a secondary, it feels like in the NFL, especially the teams that are really good, Solomon, they don't have one good DB, they don't have two DB, they have a crop of really, really good DBs. Yes, are good.
And what makes them good is working together. To your point, you have to work together. And any one of those players, even if they're good and they're just playing for themselves, they can still blow a coverage. And well, you guys knew a player like that. Remember Marcus Peters?
We do.
Who you love the fact that he was an interceptor, but Marcus would he'd blow a coverage at a heartbeat trying to make a play. But he would make a play, but he would abandon the principles of playing together.
Let's take a look at some of those players there that you think could be a good fit. Antoine Winfield Jr. as a safety is a really good player. Is there a couple of players there that jump out at you, Solomon, that you think are really good fits in free agency? Not just for the Raiders, just good players overall.
A lot of those players on that list are great players. The number one guy, if you're looking for corner, Jalen Johnson, phenomenal. Yeah. Tremendous upside. He's got I think his best years are ahead of him. And he's going to be coming with a high ticket. Kyle Duggar, multi-purpose safety, hard hitter, big body guy who returns kicks, returns punts. He's explosive, and he's a heck of a player, and he can play multiple roles in your secondary, having played for Bill Belichick. If you're looking for slot corner, Kenny Moore II is probably going to be your guy. I'm a big guy in terms of Chidobe Awuzie, who PFF in 2021 had him ranked as their number one cornerback in the NFL when he played for the Cincinnati Bengals. He had to undergo a knee surgery in 2022. Came back this year. Wasn't quite the same, but you could see as the season went on, he was becoming better and better. And I think he would be a huge get.
Going to give you 3 former Raider safeties. Just give me what comes to your mind in a sentence or two. We start with the assassin, Jack Tatum.
He's the GOAT. For many of us grew up watching Jack Tatum, we idolize Jack Tatum. He personified the toughness of the position. From Ronnie Lott to Kenny Easley, they will tell you that they tailored a portion of their game after Jack Tatum. They call me the assassin, Jack Tatum. All of us have read that book.
I've read it too. Rod Woodson.
You know, Rod was a teammate of mine in Pittsburgh. I just thought he epitomized, in my mind, as being the greatest all-around defensive back to ever play the game. All around, could play every single position back there.
I love you said that, because when you have the 100 greatest players of all time, I always say Rod's in the top 25.
Easy.
And then finally, Charles Woodson, as he went from corner to safety.
Look, and I think he's right up there, too, as one of the best all-around defensive backs. He just said, look, I need a corner. Okay, Charles Woodson could do that. If you say I need a strong safety, I could do that. Free safety, he could do that. If you said nickel, he can run the nickel. He could play dime.
Good.
And then he's going to make great plays. And one of the smartest players, right? And really one of the most decorated defensive backs ever in football history. The only defensive player in history to win a Heisman Trophy.
I knew I'd get you going on that one.
The great one. See, Solomon, I think one of the best surprises for us, or best storylines for the fans of the Silver and Black this year, was the defensive improvement that this fan base saw under Patrick Graham. Going, from week 1 to week 17, it felt like the defense was the heartbeat of the 2023 Las Vegas Raiders. We heard from so many players that said, hey, it just took a little bit of time to kind of understand what Coach Graham was asking for us. When you look at the improvement throughout the course of the season, what really stood out to you in terms of the Raiders defense?
It was the back end. It was the secondary play. And after getting Jack Jones, it got even better, right? Second half of the season. Because when you're not giving up big plays, it keeps you in every single game. And then the energy that Max Crosby gives you, his effort and his energy is unmatched. It reminds me of J.J. Watt, right, with the Houston Texans. J.J., I remember calling a lot of those games for CBS Sports. J.J. could take over a game at any moment. And he would raise his energy up a level, and you could feel it. The crowd could feel it. His teammates could feel it. And it spreads to the other guys in the huddle. And Max Crosby is that kind of player. I love the intensity that he brings. I love the energy that he brings. He's an ultimate playmaker. He outworks the entire offensive line of the opposing team. And by the end of the game, they can't block him.
I want to stay with Patrick Graham. He didn't get hired as a head coach in this cycle, but he had an interview, as you know, up in Seattle. I think he's going to be a head coach next year or the year after that. He's one of those up-and-comers, gets a lot of respect around the league.
And I think it's good for the Raiders that he comes back because you get to have that kind of continuity, right? And he is a leader, and I think it helps, Antonio Pierce to have a coach of that caliber still in the building. That's why they went out and you bring in a Marvin Lewis, who I think is phenomenal. People don't realize what a great coach he was with the Cincinnati Bengals. He took a team that was like the Titanic, resting at the bottom of the ocean. Wow. And he made it sail again. He made people want to get on board of that ship. He was able to get free agents to come and join the Cincinnati Bengals, seeing that prior to his arrival, no one wanted part of the organization. And Zach Taylor was able to build upon the foundation laid by Marvin Lewis. The Cincinnati Bengals owe him a debt of gratitude. They know that, and they believe in him tremendously.
Solomon, before we get you out of here, we are here at Radio Row Super Bowl week, one of the most exciting weeks for our game. And we have, speaking of games, we're playing a game with all of our guests.
Okay.
And so what we have here for you are the past 7 Super Bowl logos.
Okay.
So what I'm going to ask of you, sir, is to write down the location of those Super Bowls. And I will give you the gimme. The one at the top is Las Vegas.
Yeah,
it is. So here we go. We're going to give you the marker here, and we're going to start the clock in 3, 2, go. All right, 2 for 2, 3 for 3. This is one that people are getting hung up on, JT. You and I, we saw we got our cheat sheet earlier, and there's 2 of these 7 that people have a hard time with.
Let him go. He's got it.
I may be stumped now.
It's a good game. It's a good game. It's tough.
Yeah.
You've been at every radio.
Yeah.
Boom. Prior to that. Is that it?
Close.
That one might
close.
be here.
You're close.
Mini. What was before Mini?
I'll give you a clue. I'll give you a clue. This one goes there.
Okay, thank you. So we had Mini. Oh,
he's cooking now, JT. He's cooking now.
And then I'm going to do that just because
All
I
right,
don't
let's
know.
see. How many did we get? So we got Las Vegas, yes. We got Phoenix, yes. We got Los Angeles, yes. Oh, we were close. We were in the right state.
Tampa gets
in the
everyone.
right state.
Yeah, but this one goes here.
That one goes there.
And that would be TB.
And this was the COVID year because a lot of people forget about that
That's
one.
exactly
That was a hard
right.
one. Yeah.
That's right.
That's a great effort, though. So that's one I would say a top echelon, top 50% of the folks that we've had come through. That is pretty good.
Preview of the game. Who do you got?
Look, I think it's going to be one heck of a game. I think we're going to get a high-scoring game. Okay. Even though the defenses, I have great respect. If both teams can crank up the run game, the quarterbacks are going to cook. If they can't run the ball, the quarterbacks are going to find it very difficult because we have good, even great coverage linebackers for both teams. They really cover very well. I'm not going against Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. In fact, I think they were facing a much more difficult test in last year's Super Bowl in terms of the defense that they faced.
As a former player, I want to say this because we've known each other a long time. You're a fantastic broadcaster. Love your work, man.
JT,
Keep it up.
appreciate you. Thank you very much. Coming from you, great compliment.
That means a lot. Thank you. Solomon Wilcots, who's fantastic. When we come back, more coverage, more players, former players, as we're live from the Media Center. This is Raiders Live.
You're listening to Upon Further Review. I'm your host, Eddie Paskal.
Good morning, Raider Nation.
Welcome to Raiders Roundtable. JT along with Eddie Paskal.
He dissects the play quickly and makes the move to the football.
Raider Nation. My name is Camille. I'm from Edmond, Oklahoma, and this is my rookie season with the Raiderettes. I started dancing in high school. I had a dance coach that brought me in. My first routine was to Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror. When I am not cheering for the Raiderettes, I am hiking with my dog. I am also cooking and baking, and I love to paint. A year ago when I decided that, it's time for me to live my life and to do the things that make me happy and fill me with joy, this was the first thing that I thought of. I feel incredibly fortunate and grateful and lucky. And to be able to dance beside the women that have inspired me for most of my life is something that I will be forever grateful and happy about. Raider Nation, thanks for hanging out with me. Go Raiders.
Intercepted down the sideline.
We told the state of Nevada
Touchdown.
that you're getting more than a football team.
The highest point total in Raiders franchise history.
You're getting an army.
You got to stay involved no matter what it is.
We have a commitment to this community.
And working in the community is the thing that we do the best.
One night, one cause, one nation. Be there as we put the helmets down and our hands out in support of Nevada. Introducing the inaugural Las Vegas Raiders Foundation Silver and Black Gala, featuring players, coaches, alumni, and entertainment. Join us in providing help and hope to those struggling with mental health issues. Secure your spot today.
To be a Raider is to be bold, powerful, and loyal.
Once a Raider, always a Raider.
Raider Nation family is authentic, with a heart here in Las Vegas. We are often imitated, but can never be duplicated. Why?
The autumn win is a Raider.
Because there is only one nation.
It has been packed. Welcome back to Raiders Live from the Media Center as we continue here, and the place is packed now. We got Prime, Deion Sanders over to our left, Emmitt Smith. We had
Your guest Stephen A. Smith walked by?
I just said hello to my buddy Stephen A. Smith, and I wanted to bring that up because I was telling you, Eddie, off air, I knew Stephen A. when no one knew him, when he was doing mornings on radio and building his brand. Now he walks on this place, steady, looks like he's Muhammad Ali. He's got about 100 people around him in an entourage, but a good guy.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and it's so much fun to just see him in his element. I think that's the best part about days like today. Everyone is in their element. You feel that energy. It's impossible not to get up, right, and to feel excited as we're now, 3 or 4 days out from the big game.
Yeah, and I want to ask you, you've been to a few radio rows now. You go to the Combine. You've done a lot over the years. How do you feel not having to get in a hotel room and at the end get takeout on the way up to a room?
I will say the best part for homebody Eddie is that every night I've gone home, I've slept in my bed, I've been able to wake up, have my usual oatmeal. It's great, man. I mean, I think, and we were talking about it a lot over the past couple of days. I think the best part of this is kind of feeling and sensing that pride from everyone here, obviously in Southern Nevada, here in Las Vegas. The organization as well. There's a lot of pride for good reason for Mark Davis playing such a big role in this, but man, it's been a blast. And like I said, it's impossible not to be fired up kind of in this environment.
Mark Davis deserves a lot of credit.
Tons.
All the guests we've had have been talking about Mark as they sat down and after they left. Want to get into Davante Adams. He's a big storyline here because Davante puts up the numbers. He wants to win. The quarterback question, it remains out there, and now we have a new offensive coordinator with Luke Getsy.
Yeah, I think it'll be really, really interesting to see how Luke Getsy utilizes Davante going forward. Because, look, I think in the best possible way, you got to figure out a way to get that dude the ball, right? Davante is an all-pro, all-everything. There is no perceived weakness in his game. Like, he is just a dude that you have to find consistently, and I think that's the key word, and you and I have talked about this a bunch. I don't want Davante to live in a world where he has three targets or 4 targets. Consistently let this man eat. let him go to work. He's one of the best at his craft in the world. And when he's rolling, the Raiders are a better offense.
Well, he needs the ball. And a lot of people, I've talked about this with Fred Biletnikoff. When you don't get him the ball, you know you got to get him the ball on the next play. And when he starts cooking, other players got to stay active. They got to run their routes to perfection. They got to demand that double team across the middle. Devontae shows up like Max Crosby every play, ready to catch the ball and make a big play.
Yeah, and I think in the best possible way, Devontae's one of those guys who is going to demand the football. Say, I am, respectfully, Davante Adams. Let me eat. Let me go to work. And I think what was great about Devontae as we look at his stats right here, north of 100 receptions, 1,100 yards there, the 8 touchdowns. But I think we saw, towards the end of the year in particular, what can happen when Devontae gets a little bit of help. When we have Trey Tucker contributing consistently. We saw Michael Mayer, what he adds to this offense. When you can get this run game going. Devontae is, one of those guys that when things are working around him and he gets his opportunity to go one-on-one, I don't care what DB it is, JT. I'm taking Devontae in that battle.
Well, a lot of the fans we've talked to on Raider Nation Radio wondered what was going to happen if Cliff Kingsbury was here. Now he's not, and it's Luke Getsy. And I've been telling everyone, because I haven't talked to Devontae about it yet, Eddie, that he played with him. He was the quarterback guru when Aaron Rodgers had 45 touchdowns and Devontae had one of his best years. He was in all those meetings. He was breaking down film with Devontae. They were going through that. I hope their chemistry, coach to player, is at a very high level hitting the ground.
Yeah, I mean, I think that level of comfort, that level of familiarity is going to be huge as we go into 2024. But really, and I'm sure you'll ask the question when we get the opportunity. I would love to know what Luke Getsy brought out of Devontae, what that connection was, what he found in a young Devontae Adams to, elevate him from here to one of the top wide receivers in the NFL.
No doubt about it. And as we see here, Coach Getsy, looking forward to him addressing the media. And when this thing settles down, there's a little bit something called Super Bowl going on, but everybody's excited about that. And Jeffri Chadiha is kind enough to join us from NFL Media.
Welcome,
I've been interviewing him for a long time. And one of the best NFL insiders and reporters out there. Good to see you in Vegas.
Same here. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You having a good time? What do you think so far?
You know what? I don't gamble, and I can't gamble. It's been raining, so it's been tough to get out of outside the hotel, but I'm finding my way to good times.
We were just talking about Davante Adams before you hit the set here. Tell me about Davante and his evolution now, because he's got an offensive coordinator with Luke Getsy, who we worked with in Green Bay.
I'm excited for him. I know it's been tough. He came here to be with Derek Carr, and that hasn't worked out, and the coaching changes, but he's still obviously a phenomenal receiver. Still can do a lot for this offense. I'm excited to see what they do with him now that there's less dysfunction. Obviously, you got to get the quarterback situation figured out, if it's Aiden O'Connell or somebody else, but I love what he brings to the table. I think that you bring him, you got Josh Jacobs back. I watched this team play in Kansas City when they beat them at the end of the year, and I like the energy, the vibe of it. So I expect him to be a playmaker once again.
What's the challenge going to be for Luke Getsy to make sure that Devontae gets his opportunities? And when JT and I've talked about it a bunch, we want to see him get fed consistently. Yeah. But for Luke Getsy now coming in, what's the challenge of making sure that Devontae's getting his reps, but also working within the greater scheme of the offense?
Well, I think, I think where you're at, where they are as far as in this conference and this division, you want to make sure your playmakers are playing at their best, right? So you want to feed him as much as you can. You want to make sure you got good people around him. I don't think you can do – there's not enough you can do to get him the football, right? You want to make sure he's got it going. I just don't know. The problem I feel with the AFC West as far as they're concerned is they've got to be able to start fast. They got to be able to know who they are. They got to be able to believe in what they're doing. It's tough when you're dealing with, 2 Hall of Fame coaches and another guy who's probably going to be in the Hall of Fame and Jim Harbaugh. So to me, it's like feed the ball to him as much as you can and make it happen.
Let's talk about Kansas City and the Raiders, but I want to jump into a couple of things. You've been there for the rivalry, like I have, long enough, where the Raiders own the rivalry at times in the 80s and the 90s, and now Kansas City has this rivalry, and they're winning at Allegiant Stadium. Yeah. They're here at the Super Bowl. Yeah. Tell us something behind the scenes about the rivalry that you love the most, the
what I love the most is what Antonio Pierce has brought to it, making it physical again. I think when you look at the two wins I remember the Raiders having in recent memory. One was back when John Gruden was here, and the one this past year. Yeah, the bus. Yeah. You got to have some attitude about this. And I think it's just the Chiefs and then being in Kansas City, living there and seeing how they operate. They've gotten to that point that the Patriots were at where they know how to win. They expect teams to fold. And I think you have to be able to punch teams like that in the mouth, right? You have to let them know where you stand
Great point.
at the start, right? And that's
you
what
mentioned
happened
the
to that
two
game.
wins, the bus game with Gruden, and then the Christmas game where they played physical, scored 2 defensive touchdowns 7 seconds apart.
Yeah.
And Antonio went in there saying, we have to win this game. They punched him.
You know, I watched them in the warm-ups before that Kansas City game, and I was impressed because, look, it was Christmas Day. Like, it was late in the year. Usually at this time of year when you got an interim coach, teams are ready to tap out, thinking about vacation. And I watched Antonio going around, slapping guys, high-fiving them in the warm-up line, you know, stretch line. I watched Josh Jacobs doing it. Like, everybody who was hurt was going around, getting guys pumped up. And I'm like, it's Christmas Day. It's easy to, like, want to be home. And they're ready to go. And so he's brought that to them. I love what Max Crosby brings energy-wise. But I think there's something there that they can really build upon. It's not just about Davante Adams. It's about their attitude, about what they're going to be.
You know, and obviously us here in Las Vegas, we're incredibly excited about that Christmas win. But, you know, and not to make too much of it, but how important was it for an Antonio Pierce-led football team to go into Kansas City to get a win against one of the premier organizations, not only in the AFC, but the NFL, and to say, hey, we're going to do it our way, and we can find success doing it our way, the Raider way?
I think it was big because you have to stand out. You got to be who you are, and you can't be scared of that. I think I'm from Michigan, and so I always love what Jim Harbaugh brought to Michigan when he got back there, which was we don't have to be spread formation. We don't have to be air raid. We're going to be smash mouth, hit you in the face, be physical all game long, and you have to deal with that. And so I think they've already got the pieces in place for that, again, with Josh Jacobs, with Crosby, with the defense. I think it's a good thing to have Marvin Lewis around to help. I think that was a big pickup to bring in the coaching staff to have a mentor there, a consigliere, if you want, if you will.
Absolutely.
So I think they got the pieces there. Look, they were a couple games away from being in the playoffs this year after all the dysfunction. So I love the potential of what they can be.
You mentioned Jim Harbaugh. It's a big deal because the Spanos normally don't pay for a coach at that level. I think they got some problems. You would know better with the cap. You're going to have to let a couple of players go. Same thing with Denver and Sean Payton. They got to rebuild that roster. What do you expect the Chargers to do in this rivalry quickly? Very disappointing as they made the coaching change, which is a big one.
Yeah, well, I think Harbaugh, he's won everywhere he's been, so I think that's going to happen there. The question is how fast it happens. I think the quarterback will play better. I think, to be honest with you, I think he's got to find a way to – he's got the talent to be that Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow conversation, but he hadn't made enough plays to be there. And I think it's even when I watch him play, there's a level of – I don't want to say it's passiveness, but it's like he's not – when the game is on the line, the play needs to be made, he doesn't have that same juice that I see from those quarterbacks. So I think that's a big thing that will help him. And they probably need to get some of the older guys out of there who've been around for a while, who've gotten used to the culture. But the big thing really is keeping guys healthy. He's bringing in a whole new strength and conditioning staff. And that's a team that's always seemed to be banged up at the worst possible times. That's the biggest factor for them.
Absolutely.
You know, the most direct way to make the playoffs in the NFL is win your division, right? This AFC West, year after year after year, it morphs, it changes, but it's ultra competitive. What do the Raiders need to do to make sure that this positive momentum, the good vibes that they're riding right now, it doesn't become the end of the story, it's just more of the beginning?
Well, I think a great comp for them, and it's a different kind of comp because the Houston Texans were a lot worse off than the Raiders have been the last few years. But you look at what they did as far as building their roster. They went out and got a lot of guys who are mid-tier dudes to come in, like the Jimmy Wards, who's the guy, the defensive end, Jonathan Grenard. And those guys came in and played roles, built the offensive lineup. But then they went out and got some guys who could be stars. And so that's C.J. Stroud, that's Will Anderson, Derek Stingley. So you don't need to have all these stars to make it work. You got to have guys who believe in what you're doing. I think the Rams have done the same thing with their system, where they've been able to draft well in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round and find players who can help you. The Lions have done that. So Tom Telesco, big challenge here, right?
It is.
You're not just getting the guys who are home runs on the first day, but the guys second, third day who can contribute right away.
Jeffrey, one more before you got to get going. Tom Telesco's been known in that first round to go big. He's had some really good drafts in the first round, and that's what he's going to be evaluated on because it feels like the Raiders are close to being a playoff team, and they have to go through Kansas City. What piece do you think he needs? The quarterback's the obvious one. You think he could trade up into the top 3 to get one of those big quarterbacks, or do you think a veteran like Kirk Cousins, Baker Mayfield, someone else? What are you thinking?
I think you probably want to try to get that guy in the first round that you can get. You know, it depends on where it goes. I mean, there's some interesting names out there. I think Baker stays in Tampa. I think Kirk Cousins probably stays in Minnesota the way the year played out for him with that injury. But I wouldn't be surprised. Someone threw this out to me the other day. It was like with Antonio Pierce being in Arizona, Marvin Lewis being there, Jaden Daniels having some ties there, and
you got to go up and get him.
Go up and get him. He gives a lot, but he's a playmaker, and he's a guy who can be a difference maker. I don't know how you win in this division without getting that right, because now you're talking about Mahomes, Herbert. The Broncos are going to find somebody. You better have somebody in that position if you want to be able to compete.
Eddie's got your game. Let's go. I think he's going to be the best.
Is that right?
Here we go.
Okay, here we go. I think he's going to be the best.
All right.
So we have done this with all of our friends that have come to visit us this week. We have the 7 logos of the past 7 Super Bowls, right?
Yeah.
So your job, sir, is to fill in the location of those Super Bowls.
Okay.
I will tell you this. Tom Pelissero is the leader in the clubhouse right now. Tom crushed it, 7 for 7. We went, and he had a high timer, I should say a low time. So here's what we're going to do.
Is there a timer on this?
We're going to have the timer up on the screen there.
Okay.
So we're going to give you this, sir.
All right, I got to write fast then, right?
Write fast.
Okay.
Write fast. Speed is the name of the game. All right. Can our
you
friends
can
in
do
the
it with
control
my
room
mic.
get the? I'll take that for you.
Okay.
All right, there we go. And we're going in 3, 2, go. All right, 1 for 1. Great start. Strong start. 2 for 2. 3 for 3. We're off to a good start. And I will say, he got the one that no one has gotten thus far outside of Pelissero.
Okay.
Oh, man. We're looking good. Can I get a little help there, Wyatt? Okay. Oh. All right. We got one left.
And Jeffrey, you were at every one, and I know you're thinking back to the halftime show or the party.
I'm trying to remember now. It's just tough. You kind of threw me off here. COVID.
All right, here we go. Let's see how we did. We went 1 for 1, 2 for 2, 3 for 3. Oh, we switched Miami and Tampa.
Good job.
That's good.
That's good. That's really good.
That's definitely, I would say, second behind Tom.
Absolutely. Jeffrey, thanks for joining us. Continued success. Jeffri Chadiha, man, great reporter. When we come back, more interviews coming up live from the Media Center at Mandalay Bay. This is Raiders Live.
Hey Raider Nation, my name is Kylie. I'm from Riverton, Utah, and this is my 2nd season with the Raiderettes. This season as a Raiderette, I'm looking forward to just really soaking up every moment. I feel like last season, I didn't know what to expect, so everything was so new to me, and I was just like so excited for what was next to come. And this year, having 1 year under my belt, I feel like I can really be present, soak every single thing up, be a sponge, and just learn so much more about me and my passion and what I can do for the community and help others chase their dreams as well. What it means to me to be a Raiderette is someone that is truly inspiring, someone that I can help give that hope to someone to always chase their dreams and to never give up. A goal that I've recently accomplished is making it back for my 2nd season. This is a dream that I never knew I needed, and I am so fortunate to have met so many girls that I know that will be a part of my life forever. My rookie sisters this past year, we all got super close, and they just became my family away from home. So I'm super grateful to be a part of this program another season and continue growing these new relationships and building more family and sisters to come. See you on the field, Raider Nation.
What drew you to the Raiders?
First and foremost, it is an NFL franchise. It was an opportunity to call NFL football. It was an opportunity to be the voice of a team, which I grew up wanting to be the voice of a team. Wanting to be someone that, whether it's kids, adults, but hey, they know that voice and they recognize that with different plays throughout the course of decades. But then beyond that, in the history of football, particularly the history of the NFL, there's 32 franchises, so there's only 32 of these jobs, but there are certain franchises that stand out in the history of the NFL more than the others. And there's no question that the Raiders are in that upper echelon of the history of importance of this league.
Plunkett giving to Allen, sending a wide left. He has to reverse his field, but he gets away for a moment. Comes back up the middle of 30, 35, 40. Goes past 2 men at the 50, down to the 40, picking up a blocker. Holy Toledo! Touchdown Raiders!
Play fake. Back is Plunkett. Time to throw. Deep to the end zone to Branch. It is caught by Branch. Touchdown Raiders!
When I was asked my opinion, who I thought
would be able to be with the Raiders for a long time and who was good, I thought of Jason. I just thought that this is a good guy to be coming into a new market who can grow with it with the fans. He just has amazing likability. He has tremendous credibility because of his preparation, and his voice is terrific. So when I was asked my opinion, it wasn't hard for me.
Snap on 1st and goal. Pitch to Jacobs, racing left. Breaks a tackle. Leads the ball forward. Touchdown Raiders!
Calling NFL games is a once-in-a-lifetime experience. It's a job that anyone would give both of their legs to do. It's an unbelievable thing that everybody knows what you're doing. Everyone knows how unique an opportunity this is and how big of an opportunity it was.
Jason Horowitz, voice of the Raiders. So with Perriman out here, I always think this is one of the few games of the year where you have to have a spy on the quarterback.
The biggest aspect of my job is bringing the game itself to people who aren't there. When you're doing a game on radio, you are the voice in the eyes to paint the picture in the imagination of what is happening in front of you as best you can. And it could be good, it could be bad, it could be who knows, and it could be something that you have to be prepared for the unexpected. I want to make sure that whatever happens in the 3 hours of football that's about to happen in front of us, it's described with accuracy, with the correct amount of energy.
Play action again. Looking downfield. Lofts it near corner. Adams wide open at the 5. He walks in, and the Raiders walk off with a win. Jacobs 74 yards. Intercepted down the sideline.
We told the state of Nevada,
touchdown,
that you're getting more than a football team.
The highest point total in Raiders franchise history.
You're getting an army.
You got to stay involved no matter what it is.
We have a commitment to this community.
And working in the community is the thing that we do the best.
One night, one cause, one nation. Be there as we put the helmets down and our hands out in support of Nevada. Introducing the inaugural Las Vegas Raiders Foundation Silver and Black Gala, featuring players, coaches, alumni, and entertainment. Join us in providing help and hope to those struggling with mental health issues. Secure your spot today.
Welcome back. Raiders live from the Media Center. Hall of Famer Andre Reed's kind enough to join us. Great to see you.
Good to see you guys. Good to see you.
You were just talking. We're going to Ditka Jaws later tonight. I usually
Yes.
see Jim Kelly. He brings his high school coach, one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Everything.
Terry.
Yeah,
Terry,
and you have
yeah.
a great time anywhere at the Super Bowl. Now Vegas. Tell us about Vegas.
I mean, could you have thought 30 years ago they'd have a Super Bowl in Vegas?
No. Everyone said the same thing, Andre.
Like, it's amazing how not only the NFL does their homework, but they have enough confidence in a place like this to throw the biggest game of the year and have the world watch it.
You know, and I think what's great, Andre, too, is that Vegas has turned into its morph, and JT's talked about this a bunch, it's transformed into not only a sports town, but it is an all-encompassing metropolis now. Like, you have your cultural aspects of it. You have, obviously, the NFL's here, the WNBA's here. The success of the Golden Knights has been so great to see. I mean, it's been really cool for us to be able to show off this incredible city to all our friends coming into town.
Yeah, and the F1, you know, that supposedly didn't work out, but I'm sure they'll do that again. I saw the Sphere for the first time. I mean, that was pretty cool. Yeah. I mean, from a plane, it even looks crazier. Yeah. So Vegas has done a good job, I think. As a host city, there's so much pressure on you, you know, as far as the Super Bowl goes, but they definitely have started off well.
How do you think Devontae's fit in with the Raiders? Last year, a little bit of a step back until Antonio Pierce took over. The Raiders finished really strong, but still one of the best wide receivers in his prime in the league.
Definitely. You know, he has showed time and time again that he's one of the best in the game. Obviously, he had Aaron Rodgers early in his career. He just wants to win. I think he's at the point right now where it's like, all these other guys are getting to the big game and the playoffs and all that. That's where I want to be. He's got stats and all that. He's got that. But I think that's the kind of player he is.
You know, sticking with Devontae for a second, the guy who threw him the ball a lot in 2023, Aiden O'Connell, and I'm just curious from a wide receiver's perspective, what are some of the challenges that come with having a young rookie quarterback, a guy who is still in many ways, I don't want to say figuring it out, but growing into a professional? What kind of challenges does that present for a guy like Devontae?
Well, you know, being on the same page in anything's hard, and especially when you're a veteran and they just throw a rookie guy in there and it's supposed to work. You don't have that much time. So I'm sure Devontae spent a lot of time with him on one-on-one, not only talking to him, but getting on the field and just, hey, this is how I run this. This is how I do this. How do you throw this game? How do you throw this route? How do you throw that route? In order for them to both to succeed, they both got to be on the same page when it comes to that.
One of my favorite players is up for the Hall of Fame. You know, Eric Allen. He's one of our partners here with the Raiders.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Eric as a player and how great he was.
I think Eric was, in his time, one of the best shutdown corners in the game. Played against him a few times with the Eagles. Just fundamentally sound, can run. Really played better in the slot than he did on the outside. He was more of a slot cover guy. So, yeah. Definitely deserving of a Hall of Fame nod. Hall of Fame is so, you know, everybody, you know, I saw Andre Johnson last night, and I talked to Torrey Holt just a little while ago. I mean, receivers are just, oh gosh. You're kind of at the discretion of the voters.
Me and you have talked about this in the past. Yeah. The way they made Tim Brown wait, you wait. The receivers, when it gets a bottleneck.
And that's what it is now.
What do you tell them when you talk to them and say, hey, be patient?
I really just say, yeah, that's all you can say. Yeah. I mean, if you had anything to do with it, and some of these guys get out here to, you know, kind of get in the media, and they think that being in the media is going to help more and all that. Stats don't lie, things don't lie, championships don't lie, whatever. But it's tough on these guys because every year, you know, for me, for 9, 7, 8 years.
I remember.
And I thought that it wasn't going to, you know, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. It isn't because of me having to do this or not doing this.
And one more thing, Eddie, you were there in the era where they were knocking on the door.
Yeah.
Now it's not that.
They don't do that no more.
The wives get heads up. So when you were sitting there.
No, they actually knock on the door now. They used to do the phone call.
Right. So when you were waiting for that call, knowing all your friends and family are waiting for that call, you were a Hall of Famer back then, even though you didn't get the call. You had to wait, and now I see you in Canton every year.
And that's the thing I tell these guys. I go, patience is a virtue in everything, and that's one thing as people we don't have. We don't have no patience in anything. But when this time comes around, your friends, your family, your colleagues, everybody like that is like, this is your year, this is your year. And that's what they told me for 8 years. And I said, well, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it just wasn't meant to be.
You know, the only constant in the NFL seems to be is change now, right? As the game is evolving, players are evolving. When you look at the wide receiver position today, how is it different than when you were playing?
Oh, well, you weren't catching 100 balls like it was nothing. Tight ends are catching 100. Rule changes have made the game more of a scoring game than anything else. And the criteria of being a Hall of Famer in the next 10 years is going to be totally different because the numbers are they're just overblown. Everybody's going to have 1,000 catches.
One more. What was your greatest memory against the Raiders, home or on the road? You got to have a good one.
You already know.
The championship game? Yeah. That was over pretty quick.
And every time I see Howie, I try to dig him because people dig me, and I try to, on kind of like really, really slow dig him.
That was a big game for you. That was a big game. Jim, everything just went well that day.
Yeah.
On a pretty good Raiders team with Howie and a lot of good players.
Raiders had a good
team.
defense.
Yeah.
And Jay Schrader was the quarterback, if you remember. Marcus, and Tim Brown.
Yeah.
I think Mervin Fernandez was Mervin on that team?
Absolutely, Swervin, yeah.
Mervin was on there. They had the Raiders were a good football team.
Good. What are you here to promote? What's going on?
I'm promoting B-Goat. Okay. It's a distilled whiskey out of Denver, and I'm an ambassador with probably the GOAT of cricket.
Really?
Owen Morgan is the GOAT of cricket. He's like the Tom Brady of cricket. And there's international games now everywhere with the NFL. There's going to be a game in Brazil next year.
Yeah.
So we're trying to put the game of cricket and NFL football together through this brand.
Good to see you, my friend. I'll see you tonight.
Got it. Awesome.
There he is, the great Andre Reed. When we come back, more of our coverage right here from the Media Center. You're listening and watching Raiders Live.
Intercepted down the sideline.
We told the state of Nevada,
Touchdown,
that you're getting more than a football team.
the highest point total in Raiders franchise history.
You're getting an army.
You got to stay involved no matter what it is.
We have a commitment to this community.
And working in the community is the thing that we do the best.
One night, one cause, one nation. Be there as we put the helmets down and our hands out in support of Nevada. Introducing the inaugural Las Vegas Raiders Foundation Silver and Black Gala, featuring players, coaches, alumni, and entertainment. Join us in providing help and hope to those struggling with mental health issues. Secure your spot today.
Hey Raider Nation, my name is Madison. I am from Las Vegas, Nevada, and this is my 4th season with the Raiderettes. When I'm not cheering for the Raiderettes, I am a head dance coach for my former college dance team out here in Las Vegas. I absolutely love coaching for college dancers. I love working with my team. I hope to always just inspire them to be their best and work hard, and I just love watching them grow throughout the season. So I actually grew up playing competitive soccer for 12 years. I took dance classes here and there as a young girl, but I didn't start dancing seriously until high school. And then after high school, I was lucky enough to dance in college for 4 years, and then after college was selected to be a member of the 2020 inaugural Las Vegas Raiderettes, and it has been the most amazing experience of my entire life. When I'm not cheering, some of my favorite things to do are travel. I absolutely love going to Disneyland. I travel there a handful of times throughout the year. I'm a big Disney girl, so that's always really fun for me. A fun fact about me is that I actually worked as a Disney princess for small parties and kids' events and things like that. Being a Raiderette has meant the absolute world to me. Being born and raised in Las Vegas and being able to represent my community and be an ambassador and role model for the community has been so rewarding, and to do it with an organization that has such amazing values has been so special and just so rewarding. Thanks for watching, Raider Nation. Just win, baby.
It is draft season, and with that, it's our pleasure now to welcome you to the Raiders NFL Draft Podcast.
This is a very exciting time. We get a chance to join the nation, Raider Nation, talk a little bit about the draft.
The Raiders very well positioned in terms of draft resources, draft capital.
This will be a fascinating watch as we get closer to the draft and kind of see how the Raiders put the pieces of the puzzle together.
We've got a lot to cover here over the next 8 weeks, and so excited to be here on this Raiders NFL Draft Podcast.
Raider Nation, stand up.
Welcome back to Raiders Live from the Media Center. Media Row, JT along with Eddie Paskal. What a day we're having. We're having a great time, and before I jump off on radio, got a couple more things we want to get to. And Eddie, before our next guest comes in, I want to talk about the draft and the importance of the draft here. I'm a believer now. This is the moment for the Raiders to go get a quarterback, an elite quarterback. Since Derek Carr, they haven't had the ability really to make a big move and go up. I think this is the best quarterback draft we might have seen in 7 or 8 years. is the time now to make that move.
Yeah, I mean, you brought up a great point earlier, and you said it again now, just again now, JT. It's you don't know what you're going to get next year or 2 years from now in terms of the quarterback class. If you're Tom Telesco, if you say, hey, this is the best it's going to be in, let's call it 36 months, it feels like you have to get your guy. But I think you're also playing kind of that you're doing the delicate dance of you have to. The price also has to be right for that. And I mean, what do you think it takes to go from 13 to, let's say, 4 or 5?
2 first-rounders. I've been talking about this with a lot of insiders. Caleb Williams is a minimum 3 first-rounders. 3. If you want to go get him and go in 1, you're going to give up 3. I think after that, you look at Drake May, and then you go down the list. Jaden Daniels is the 3rd of that group. I don't know. Some people I talk to think Penix is better than Jaden Daniels. And then you got Bo Nix, who you know of at Oregon. I like Bo Nix a lot because I like his size and strength outside the pocket. But let's stay with the connection to Jaden Daniels with Antonio Pierce. If Tom Telesco wants to move up from 13, say, to 7, 13, say, to 6, I think he'll be there. But if you start waiting to 10 or 11, someone could jump in front of the Raiders or just take them there. So I think if you want Jaden Daniels, that's probably the most logical fit. 2 first-round picks, go up and get them, and then you got your franchise quarterback.
Yeah, and I think just to play devil's advocate a little bit, JT, is like hypothetically, let's say that the price isn't right for Tom. Tom says, hey, you know, the cost of doing business doesn't make sense for the Raiders of 24, 25, 26, 27. I think that we forget sometimes. I don't want to say forget, but let's not forget that Aiden O'Connell played a lot of football last year, right? And is Aiden going to be the next Patrick Mahomes? Is Aiden going to be the next Josh Allen? Who knows? Time will tell, right? But you do have a quality piece in that quarterback room. And a lot of the folks that you and I have talked to this past week have said, look, you got to improve the depth of that room. Not just the QB1 position, the depth of that room. So I caution everyone just to remind them that, hey, it's going to be a full remodel, a full remold of that QB room in 24.
Yeah, a player like Jacoby Brissett as a backup who can help out that room, I'm all for that. But if you want to go get a veteran, we've had a couple of guests on. Baker Mayfield, I love Baker Mayfield.
Me too.
And I thought we should have got Baker Mayfield a year ago. We didn't. Fine with that. I was all on board until Jimmy G got hurt. But now I think Baker's going to stay with Tampa. You look at Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is still a very good quarterback. He could take a roster like the Raiders to, I think, the Super Bowl or deep into the playoffs. If not, you can park a young quarterback behind Aiden and start Aiden and just park that other quarterback behind him. But again, I think these top 3 quarterbacks, they're not generational other than Caleb Williams, but they're so good. And I'm looking at this list here again. We've tried Marcus Mariota. Sam Darnold's a good player. I love Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston is a very good player.
He's great.
Very good player who didn't have a chance. He's been in a really bizarre setup. You want to talk about a guy who's a backup and knows it. Good guy, good player. But the one that stands out is obviously Kirk Cousins and the whole thing about Devontae. Devontae put out a little bit of smoke on that one, too. I think Devontae wants a quarterback that can help him win now. On this list in front of us, the best guy to do that is Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, and just to give a little bit of love, I mean, not even Raiders connection at all, but Joe Flacco, what he was able to do this year. I mean, a guy who was literally sitting on the couch pops up and says, "Hey, I'm gonna lead this team into the playoffs." But yeah, I mean, we're looking at Kirk Cousins here, and certainly a guy who's had a lot of success in the league. The injury bug obviously came for him a year ago. What does he look like now coming off of that as we get ready to dive into 2024? We're seeing Baker here, and you and I talk about it all the time, man. I know both of us are really big fans of Baker, the attitude, the swagger, the charisma, and all that. But yeah, I think it makes the most sense for both parties for him to stay in Florida.
If Tom Telesco wants to step up and go big at 13, I like right tackle. But he's got to be a starter. He's got to be a plug-and-play starter, an elite player, not a developmental player. Colt Miller came in here, and very quickly he turned out to be a dominant player in this league. And I think he's going to start knocking down Pro Bowls. If we got that on the right side with Colton, and a young player who's angry and nasty, I'm good with that. But the quarterbacks, Eddie, you and I are going to be talking about it all off season. We know Raider Nation. Raider Nation wants to know who the quarterback's going to be by training camp, and they want a big name.
Yeah, and very understandably so, right? And I think that, you know, if you're a fan of the silver and black, you have to feel good that Tom Telesco is the man who will ultimately be in charge of making that decision. Because if you look at his history, what has Tom done throughout his entire career as a general manager is hit on first rounders, turn guys that he drafts with those high, you know, those high equity picks into consistent players, Pro Bowl players, elite players. And you and I both know that the first round in years past has not been overly kind to the silver and black. So now, if you look at what Tom Telesco's done, as you see it here on the graphic, the Keenan Allens, the Jason Verretts, Melvin Gordon, obviously Keenan Allen a third-round guy, but, still guys that have come in that have fit the system, that have fit what Tom Telesco in LA at the time wanted out of a player and had really, really nice careers.
The one I like is Rashawn Slater in 2021. That's a player. That's a guy who's going to be in the hunt long-term for the Hall of Fame. He's that good of a player. So look what he's done recently. You look at an offensive tackle, the quarterback, and someone told me on the radio, said, well, he didn't do much there. He felt him. I said, no. He didn't trade up to get him. He got him with his intel, and that kid, Justin Herbert, is one of the best I've ever seen live. Elway talent, and that's on the Tom Telesco resume.
You got to make the pick.
You have to make the pick.
You got to make the pick. You have to have the confidence into your staff to say, hey, this is the guy. It might seem like the air quotes obvious pick to us, to the fans, but you still got to ultimately say, turn the card in. This is going to be our franchise guy.
We both think we know what we're talking about. We have no idea.
No idea.
We have no idea what's going to happen with this draft, but that's going to help us with a lot of off-season programming and podcasts. When we come back, we have another guest scheduled to join us. Radio Row is popping right here. It's getting going. Keep it here on Raiders Live from the Media Center, Media Row.
You're listening to Upon Further Review. I'm your host, Eddie Paskal.
Good morning, Raider Nation.
Welcome to Raiders Roundtable. JT along with Eddie Paskal.
He dissects the play quickly and makes the move to the football.
Raider Nation, my name is Camille. I'm from Edmond, Oklahoma, and this is my rookie season with the Raiderettes. I started dancing in high school. I had a dance coach that brought me in. My first routine was to Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror. When I am not cheering for the Raiderettes, I am hiking with my dog. I am also cooking and baking, and I love to paint. A year ago when I decided that it's time for me to live my life and to do the things that make me happy and fill me with joy, this was the first thing that I thought of. I feel incredibly fortunate and grateful and lucky. And to be able to dance beside the women that have inspired me for most of my life is something that I will be forever grateful and happy about. Raider Nation, thanks for hanging out with me. Go Raiders.
Intercepted down the sideline.
We told the state of Nevada,
touchdown,
that you're getting more than a football team.
The highest point total in Raiders franchise history.
You're getting an army.
You got to stay involved no matter what it is.
We have a commitment to this community.
And working in the community is the thing that we do the best.
One night, one cause, one nation. Be there as we put the helmets down and our hands out in support of Nevada. Introducing the inaugural Las Vegas Raiders Foundation Silver and Black Gala, featuring players, coaches, alumni, and entertainment. Join us in providing help and hope to those struggling with mental health issues. Secure your spot today.
To be a Raider is to be bold, powerful, and loyal.
What's a Raider? Always a Raider.
Raider Nation family is authentic, with a heart here in Las Vegas. We are often imitated, but can never be duplicated. Why?
The autumn wind is a Raider.
Because there is only one nation.
Raiders Live from Media Row, and look at this timing. The live production of this cannot get any better as we welcome in LaVar Arrington. LaVar, man, it is so good to see, and also seamless transition.
You like that?
Seamless, doesn't get any better. It's like you've done this a little bit before. How are you, sir?
I feel really good. I feel well. How about yourself?
Man, I can't complain. We were just talking earlier about what an incredible environment this is, what an incredible week this is, not only for the NFL, but for the city of Las Vegas. I mean, what have your just general impressions been of this spectacular spectacle that we're in the middle of?
It's been super cool, man. I think sports growing in Las Vegas the way that it has been amazing for the industry. Having Las Vegas Raiders here has been amazing. Having the Golden Knights here has been amazing. So, you know, the basketball team, the women's basketball team, winning and having success. So it's almost like it's an untapped gold mine, so to speak. And to bring the Super Bowl here, I mean, what better place? I mean, who houses people like Las Vegas does? You know, you can't say, oh, we got a shortage of rooms. You won't run into that issue here. So I think it's been pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's been incredible for us, and certainly we wish the Silver and Black were playing in the game on Sunday, but it has been a lot of fun for our organization, our department to play host a little bit and to show people off the city that we're so proud of. But you know,
I'm a big Las Vegas Raiders fan now.
I love that.
I got my Las Vegas colors on. I've forsaken all other teams, even teams I grew up on, even teams that I played for, and I'm a Steeler fan growing up. I'm from Pittsburgh, so that has been a thing for me where, you know, if you're a Steelers fan, you're not a Raiders fan. You can't ever really be a Raiders fan, right? But I am now.
Well, let me ask you this about your Las Vegas Raiders.
Yes.
Currently, the man who is the head coach of the Silver and Black is a former linebacker, Antonio Pierce.
That's right.
We see another linebacker get hired in New England, part of that cycle for their head coaching position. And I'm just curious, like, in terms of an X's and O analytical leading men type of situation, what makes linebackers good head coaches?
That's interesting. I kind of made that, drew that comparison as well, that this hiring cycle has seen, you know, even the coach in Houston and D'Amico Ryans being a linebacker, they're leaders. You know, they're leaders. And the whole reason behind me becoming a Las Vegas Raiders fan is because of that guy right there on the television. He was my teammate when I played the game. And I think sometimes what people may fail to realize is how intelligent some of these players are out there on the field. And Antonio Pierce was one of the most intellectually sound and just high IQ guy, and was able to explain things in a way where it made sense to us as players. And then you sit there and you start to wonder, like, why the hell isn't the coach communicating it that way? And, you know, and we're teammates. And so when he got into coaching, he actually is the one that got me into coaching. I love working with kids, love mentoring young men, but he was the one that said, you need to come work with these kids. And we ended up coaching together at Long Beach Poly for a few years. And so you could always see that his leadership qualities were amazing, his focus, his drive. I told him, I said, you're turning into a head coach. And then that was when he ended up going to Arizona State. You know, he ends up leaving there to go to the Raiders, and I feel like the rest is history. Like, it's almost like destiny couldn't be denied having Antonio be the person that he is for this organization. And so I just think the leadership quality, I know people will say offensive coaches, you know, they have more success and this, that, and the other, but we live in a day and age where you got to be able to relate to the players that you're coaching. And I think there's something about the mentality of linebackers where we integrate well, we communicate well, and we're making sure that we're all on the same page, because that's what a linebacker does. And I think he's done an excellent job of doing so.
You know, I'm glad you brought up AP's experience at Long Beach Poly, because, you know, we've talked to him a bunch, certainly since early November, about his journey, about what has been kind of his guiding principles as he now goes on this incredible adventure in Silver and Black. But, you know, he brought up a great point. He goes, I know these kids now from when they were kids. He goes, I've taught, I've coached at the high school level. I've coached at the college college
Yes.
level. I've seen these kids grow, mature, change, because the athlete has changed so much.
That's correct.
In the past 10, 15, 20 years. What is that kind of comprehensive experience that AP has had from working with kids that are 8, 9, 10 years old, all up to his professionals? Like, what does that do for him kind of as a collective coach?
Yeah, I mean, it's super invaluable because, again, the evolution of the athlete has been dramatic. Like, from old school players and coaches to now new school players and coaches. That's why you didn't see a Bill Belichick get a job, because that old way it's becoming obsolete. And while you saw the greatest coach of all time be the greatest coach of all time, it's still something to be said about the way a coach that has started at youth league has. You see what Deion Sanders is doing. You start from the youth league and then you work your way up, and now you're at the college level or at the high school level. And Long Beach Poly is an elite high school program. We did really well. And then to go to the college program and take that, it just translates when you understand what the needs are of them as people. And Antonio, the reason why I believe those players really, really took a shift and a turn in playing the way that they could really play was that understanding of the needs of the player. When you understand it and you've lived it and you breathe it and you believe it, then the players believe it. And it becomes a collective belief. And I always say a collective group of belief together is an unstoppable force. And that's what you saw take place here in Las Vegas with the Raiders. It wasn't, you can surely teach somebody X's and O's and have success. But when you show somebody how much you care about them as a person and you can address them on the needs of who they are as a person, then that bond goes much deeper, and that willingness to give everything you have is that much higher. And those are the type of coaches that these organizations better be. If they're not, they better be beginning to shift their attention to being able to find those type of guys.
Incredibly well said. And look, LaVar, this was great. It was we so appreciate you coming to hang out with us, sharing a little insight about Antonio Pierce, not only the head football coach, but Antonio Pierce, the man, the teacher, the mentor, the friend and brother. So thank you so much for hanging out with us. And thank you, everyone watching us live on Raiders.com and on YouTube. We will see you guys at 2 o'clock. Eddie Paskal and Amber Theo Harris for an afternoon shift of Raiders Live from Media Row.